Uh, Hello everyone and welcome. My name's James Dwyer and I'll be presenting today's overview of Robotify. Before we get started, I'd like to just say thank you to everyone basically for joining us today. And I'd also ask for everybody other than, we've got Sarah on there who's doing signing for someone at the moment. So if everyone else can switch off their video, that'd be great. We'll also get you to mute, everyone's audio is muted, just for the, in order to essentially optimize the quality of the presentation. So the second thing I want to cover off is how we're going to handle questions. We'll, rather than have questions throughout it, which is possibly going to be quite disruptive, we'll have a proper Q&A session at the end. And my colleague, my colleague Tennille Langdon is on the, is also on the chat function, which you can bring up using Alt-H. So if you use the Alt-H key, that'll bring up the chat function. Any questions you have, you can just type into that. Okay. Any complex questions that she's not able to provide an answer for in the moment, we'll answer in the Q&A session at the end. Okay. And the final thing is this session is being recorded, and you'll be able to, we'll be sending you out a link to the Modern Teaching Aids YouTube channel where you can find this recording in the next day or so. Okay. So just to give you an idea about Robotify and how they see themselves, their vision is they believe robots are the best way to teach code. Their goal is to democratize robotics and computer science education for all. They believe every child should have the opportunity to learn code using robots, and hence they've built Robotify to make this possible and affordable for everyone. Okay. The first thing I want to do is show you a little video, which I guess outlines their vision for themselves. And I'll just make sure this comes up. Just hold on for a second. Sorry, that video, I'll just need to make sure I'm sharing the screen. Just hold on for 1 second. Okay. I'll run it back. Okay, and we'll just jump back to the presentation now. Sorry. Just having a little technical issue, and there we go. Okay, so now I want to just give you, you saw that video, it shows lots of sort of some of the ideas of the environments that you can program in, that sort of thing. And now I just want to give you, before we jump in and have a sort of a dive into the actual program itself, I want to just go over and set an overview, if you like. So in it, there's a whole lot of coding tutorials or courses, and they've got over 100 hours of coding and robotics courses available for students. There's the students analytics, and this is a really powerful tool that they've got integrated into it, where you can load up your classes, you can track what what units they've done, how they've performed in those units, how difficult or easy they found it, and you can adjust what units of work they're working on, if you like. The other thing, which is a really great tool they've got, is this projects section. And in here you can collaborate. So there are projects which Robotify produce and make available for everyone to use. And then individual teachers can also create projects, and projects that are shared by teachers, you're able to copy them and modify them yourself for your own use. That's called forking a project. And so that involves the process of basically making a copy of someone else's project, and then you modify it without modifying the original, and you can adjust it to suit your needs, the needs of your class or your school. Okay, so there's some really powerful stuff that can be done in there. Now, this is a picture of what the programming environment is like when you first come in. This is like the lobby, or where you can navigate through the various menus. The most important part I want to draw your attention to is this section, this menu system over here. And if you click on it, this is where you can navigate through and find all the different things that you need. So, for example, in the menu, just to break down before we jump into the program, I want to give you that overview. So in the courses section, when you click on this part of the menu, it takes you to the online tutorials. This is where those 100 plus hours of tutorials are and activities. Then we've got the My Classes section. And My Classes is where the learning management system is how you navigate to it. And in there are also the lesson plans to support the teachers, the support materials for the tutorials, how they can answer them, that sort of thing. And so the My Classes section is a really important and valuable contribution that or makes a really valuable contribution to the program. And then we've got the project section. That's where I was talking about a moment ago, where teachers can and Robotify can share various projects, which is a really great addition. And this is another great one, is the Educator community. And this is a place where teachers can come together on a message board system. They can message Robotify about any problems that they're having, any improvements that they would like made, or suggestions on improvements, that sort of thing. So it's a real ability for you as the user to communicate back to the people who've created the program. So it's really great. Okay, now I want to jump in and just show you quickly the 3 units. I'm using the trial, so there's the ability to get a trial subscription for Robotify. So without paying any money or anything, you can just go in and see what it's like inside and sample it. And in there, they've got 3 units that you can access very easily. One is called Drone Park, okay, where you can fly a drone around. Another is called Robotify Basics. That's where most people are going to start their students. And the other is an underwater environment. Okay, now this isn't a static thing. This is something where Robotify are constantly going to be developing new units and that sort of thing. And as a result, they've also got an Australian exclusive, which is a great addition here. And they've developed a unit of work, or they're in the process of developing it, and you can access it in the trial, which is built around the Great Barrier Reef. And so if you're familiar with problems that the Barrier Reef is having, such as with the crown-thorned starfish, is one of those things. So you can go through and track it and work out possible solutions in that environment. So it's really exciting what Robotify are doing. And it's a great example of them tailoring it to the Australian curriculum and Australian needs. So all the units have the curriculum linked into them and can be searched by teachers and that sort of thing. Another unit of work that they're developing is a Mars environment. So kids can go off and essentially program robots that travel around and do things in the Mars environment. Okay, at this stage I want to jump now into, before we go further, I just want to jump into the actual Robotify environment. And here we are. So as I said, this is the lobby page where the whole, where you can access everything from. Here's that menu system on the left there that I was speaking about earlier, okay? And you can come in, and so at the moment I'm in the courses section, and there's this redeem area, and that's where I'll refer to it later, where you are enrolling a class, and you can give kids a code where when they come in here, they can enroll themselves into a particular class, and that's what that section's about. But that's sort of a peripheral thing. So in the courses, as I said, we've got, I'll come back and we'll go in and have a look at one of these lessons in a moment, but I just want to take you through the navigate the sort of menu system, if you like, and what's available where. So here's the courses. Here's where I can continue on courses that I've been working in, okay? And then you've got the Robotify basics that I spoke about, the drone park activities. We've got Treasure Hunter, which is an underwater one. And then we've got this Great Barrier Reef, which is a new edition. It was just loaded last night. So hopefully it's, we can go in and have a look at it and make sense of it. So the next thing I want to do is, before we jump into the tutorials, I want to have a quick look at the classes. So this is where people will come in and set up their classes. So you can see here, I've got a couple of example classes. I've got one called Example Classroom with 31 students in it, and which Robotify have set up for me. And I've got another one, which is Amelia's class. Okay, and you can see this one's 10th grade, and you get the descriptions. And that's that class code I was talking about, where you can put into that redeem section. And so kids can link their profiles to particular classes. Now, what I want to do is go through the process of actually adding a class. So the options are, if you were to come here and I'm just setting it up and I've got a year, let's say I've got a grade 3 class there, let's get a grade 4 class involved. So I come in here and I type in, I'm going to load it. It might make sense to you why I'm referring to it as Excel, okay, class, okay. So I'm going to load this class out of Excel, it's grade 4. So I'll hit Create Classroom. And then I get this option, this part of the menu comes up, and I want to really quickly load up my students. At the moment, they've got a, this is the class number for this particular Excel class, okay? And if I've named that incorrectly and I want to change it, I can just come up here to Edit Details, Excel class, and I'll just call it Year 4. Okay, so I can just save that. It's all modified. Now, there are no students in this particular class, okay, at the moment, and what we want to do is add students. One option is we can get the students to enroll themselves. That's using this particular code here. The other option is we can come across, just a sec, my screens went blank there for a minute, sorry. We can come across, fortunately it fixed itself, which is great. Okay, we can come across here and we can auto add students. So we can say there's 7 students, and we're going to give them the prefix of gifted, and all of a sudden it automatically generates a username, gifted 1 through to 7. It gives automatic passwords, and I can go and fill in the names. Okay. Now, one of the limitations of the trial is that they seem to have set it up such that you can only put 5 students into a particular class, which is doesn't quite make sense to me. I'll give them some feedback that they should allow you to set up classrooms to full size, because we can't see all the units, and therefore we should be able to create classes of a full size. But that'll be feedback for them, but it's the reason why I'll only go and create 5 students in my class. Now, that's not the easiest way to do it. The easiest way for most of you will be to come in here, and we're going to do add a CSV file or an Excel file. So we're going to upload a file to add. So I've got to come in here and I've got to prepare a file. And I'm going to open Excel. And so most of you obviously would have Excel class lists. So pinned here is my grade 5 class list for Robotify. So I'll come in here, okay? And this is an ordinary Excel sheet, okay? And I'm going to create this, okay? And I've got here my students, they're all in alphabetical, so Annie Archer, Bob Blink, that sort of thing. And I've given them usernames, okay? So, and then I've got a password. And if I want to give them all, given them all the same password. If I want to make sure they've got unique passwords so they can't get in and fiddle around with their addresses, I can just come in here and do that. And so, you know, for quick and efficient, I'll just create a unique password that way. What I'm going to do next, it's an Excel file. What we've got to do is convert it into a CSV file. So comma separated values file. So to do that, I'll come up here and I'll go save as, and come into this section, and there's that option to make it .csv. And this will allow us to load our students really quickly into the system. So I'll save that now, and I'm going to save it in, I'll save it just documents. I'm going to save it in a particular folder for myself. I'll save it in that deletable folder. Okay. And so now it's saved, and you can see up here the name has saved to a .csv file. I'll come along here, and as I said, there is a limitation. You can't have, you can only load up 5 students at the moment. So I'm going to delete that line and delete this. Whoop. And I'll clear all those. And so I'll just load those 5 students in for this example. So I'll hit save on that and get rid of that file. And then we can come back here and we want to load that file into the into it. So I'll just go to this section, go in there, and there's that CSV file that I created. So I'll quickly just open that up. Okay. And hit upload, and there's my students. So there's Annie Archer, there's the passwords that I created, that sort of thing, and all of a sudden we can create accounts and enroll. Okay, account. Okay, so I'll create, Annie Archer's already in there in one of the other, I must have done a test run earlier. So I'm going to change the names of these slightly. You would only do it once, and then it would work, and I should have these. Okay. So what we can do, that's a problem with me repeating. I'll quickly change the names. Well, I'll quickly change the names on those documents. Sorry, I hadn't. Okay. So I'll just put some garbage in there, and that will hopefully allow it to change. I assume it's the column. I've just got to modify the data because it's picking up that the same records have been entered twice. So we should see this now pull in if I hit save and come back into this. Sorry about that little muck up. Where'd that go? Oh, there's always a bug or two occurs when you're in the middle of presenting. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So now I'll try and upload that file again. We've got Annie Archer appearing, but essentially you should be able to load those students in. I was a little bit clever for bit too clever for myself. Upload file to add. And if it's not working this time, but you get the idea of what I've tried to create, and we'll move on from that. But it's very easy to load names in from Excel. If you have trouble, we can do it at our end. We'll send you, there'll be an email address at the end where we can do that sort of administration for you as well. But it is very easy to do. It's just that I'm creating duplicate files. That's the only problem. Okay, so in here, once we've gone in and created those records, so we can come here. And in this example, we can go in and examine the student. So here's a list. So I'm just going in now to the student analytics. Okay, and this is an example, a dummy class, if you like, where we're going in and we can see, it just shows you what each student has, what we can see what they've been working on. If we go into Drone Park, I know that they've been doing some work in this area, and you can see here the progress of each student, okay, and what they've been working on, okay. And you can come up and you can see the solutions that the kids have been doing. You can see this student in there when they were doing Unit 1, they had 4 attempts at the solution, okay, and they eventually got the correct or recommended solution. So all the guide is there for teachers on how to use the, on the student progress. You can go through, you can see this student probably had a bit of trouble with this particular activity where they had 15 attempts, but they eventually got to the right answer and have continued through. And you can go through and just track each student's progress. And you can see here that this student number 4, has completed 1 and is up to this particular lesson, or is a little bit stuck there, okay? And you can see the progress of all your students as you go through. The other thing up here is where you can click on this, okay? And this will give you the overview for each particular unit. So in the control, there are 8 lessons that you can do. And you come in here, click on this, and you can see the teacher lesson plans. So you can click on this particular document and open it up. And here's a student guide. So we're in the Drone Park teacher lesson plans, and you can go through here and there's basically an outline of the lesson plans, links to the Australian curriculum, which particular attribute or content descriptors we're achieving in these particular lessons. Okay, and you know, broken up for the different years. So there's grades 3 and 4, there's grades 5 and 6. So they've mapped all these activities to the different year grades and curriculums. Okay, and then here it gives you a little timeline as well of how long you should be spending on each of the activities. So here we've got a lesson that takes about 50 minutes. Okay, the first lesson will take you 10 minutes. The second lesson takes you another 15 minutes, taking you up to 25, and there's that little guide about how long these activities should take for your class and how much to spend on them. There's some PowerPoints and slides there you can use to stimulate the kids in the first place before we jump into the actual programming. So there's the sort of guide for the different lessons. I'm aware of time, so I'll keep moving at this stage and jump back. And we might go and have a look. So this is where you can manage all the students from. What we might do now is have a look at the actual courses themselves, and we'll jump in and have a look. Okay. So if we go to the first one, let's say in the Robotify Basics, the first sort of tutorial that the kids will come up against. So we're going into this movement one. Okay. We click on it, and then it populates up. Obviously it's going out to the web, and it'll pop up in a moment. I had to clear the cache earlier, so it might be a bit slower than it was previously. Okay, and here we are in the programming environment. So this is the environment where the kids will come in. This is one of them, okay? And you can see here it's grayed out. If you want to have a look, I can just hit this, and this overlays a programming sort of tile, if you like, or view over the top. And this is the world that we're in. You can see as I mouse move around, okay, you can see the room that we're in, okay. Now, the tutorials are up here. So I've got here, if I click back to the first one, so this is the first tutorial, and you can see we've got these, what they refer to as drawers over on the side where we can pull blocks out, okay? And the first instruction is to open the movement drawer, find the move robot forward at current speed block, and drag it onto the workspace. So you'll see it'll go slightly darker once I pull it out, but I've got to find this move robot forward at current speed. So here it is. So I can just drag that block, and while I've got the block on the workspace, you can see the robot, slightly darker behind. Now, if I'm having trouble finding that particular block, you've got this hint system here as well, where it's basically telling you which block at this stage you have to pull out. It's very didactic at this stage, where we're just trying to help the kids to get their confidence in coding. I click across to the next step. It says, in the loops drawer, find the wait 1 second and slot it on the bottom. So I go to the loops drawer, find the wait 1 second, and it's asking me to change it to 3 seconds as well. So I come up here, click on it, change it to 3 seconds, next. Okay, the next step, find the stop robot block in the movement drawer. So if I'm not sure, if I'm having trouble finding where it is, for kids who might have a bit of difficulty, there's that visual clue as well. So I've got to find that block, stop robot. Okay, and then the next step, it's telling you to run the code. So the big red play button. So if I come over here, click that, and you can see that moving. All right, and it comes up and it gives me feedback, how many codes I've written, lines of code I've written, and whether I had success, that sort of thing. So you can then hit continue and move to the second tutorial. And it starts off in that very didactic, again, this is the second one, in the movement drawer, find the set robot speed to. So you can come up and you can see where you can set robot speed to and place it on top of the move block, okay? So you can just go through and it's just that sort of iterative learning, okay? These early stages are really quite didactic, where they're setting out exactly what steps the students have to take, and you end up with a very narrowly defined answer at the end. Another possibility, and you'll see as the tutorials develop, is we move less to a prescriptive set of instructions for you to a much more where we're more concerned about the outcome of whether you've achieved the outcome. And so in this last tutorial, it says use the blocks in the movement drawer to move the hamster, this being the robot here being the hamster, to the mark charging plate. So it's not giving us any instructions at this stage, but the marked, the plate is over here. So if I was to start this is where the students start to have to think for themselves rather than just following lessons, following a set of instructions. So there's a number of different ways you could achieve this. So if you were trying a guess and check, if I'm facing that way and the place I've got to get to is over here, then what I need to do is to obviously turn a little bit and then head in that direction. So one way to program it might be to move or turn the robot clockwise. Let's say I guess it's 45 degrees, and then I could use a block like move forward at current speed. And I could try that and see whether that works. And you can see I've turned 45 degrees. Clearly that was too much, and I've missed the target goal. And so you can see it's that sort of outcome based. If I go back, have another go, I can click that button, modify it, and you're sort of using that guess and check style programming where, whoops, if I change that to 35, okay, run the program this time, you can see I've lined up and I'm going to hit the target. And students could use, there's many different ways that problem could be solved, and it moves to that sort of outcome orientated targets or tutorials where we're just interested in whether they reach the outcome. You could then go back and look at how the students have achieved the outcome and whether it's the most efficient. So some might have created a little robot that would zigzag over here and bump into the wall, and then it might roll around, and it might take them 20 or 30 blocks to get there. And you might discuss with them the most efficient way to do it. And you can see that how they've answered the problems is recorded back in those tutorials. You might jump out now and go back to the classes. So just to give you an insight again, it might make more sense if I have a look a second time. That example classroom, if we come in and have a look at the student analytics. You can see here the suggested, we're in the Robotify basics. So I'll just load that up. And you can see what I want to show you is the suggested answer for teachers who aren't sure. You know, if they get to a tutorial like that and they're not sure, they could have come here. And one way to have solved that problem where I was trying to hit the plate where the green arrow was pointing is you could have moved the robot forward by that much, turned 90 degrees, and then moved it forward by that much, and you would have hit the plate. So you can see there's the opportunity for quite a variety of answers to be given by the students, and they still have success, and then you can examine better ways of doing it. So that's a basic overview. If you're trying to, if this student you can see is really quite good, and you know that those earlier tutorials aren't, you know, they don't need to work on them, you can just move them through here, and you see suddenly this student, once it updates, okay, and you can see it's moving up here. It's just taking a second. It might be the fact that I'm running a Zoom call at the same time, but it'll repopulate here, and you can see this person's been moved along and they're starting here. They've got access to those. They don't have to go through those sort of very simple, basic sort of didactic tutorials, if you like. Okay, so that's the class. So we've now been through the courses, we've now been through the classes. I want to have a quick look in this project section. This is that other bit where teachers can create projects that are tailored to the students, and you can come in here and you can build them, you can make it public, you can make it private. The idea is we want to create a community where there's lots of different projects on there, and the popular ones become, it's clear which ones are really good and really popular, and you can come in here and fork someone else's project. So there's a way to do that, and fork it and create your own version of their project and make it, customize it for your needs. Okay, so that's in the project section, and then we've got the community section as well. And if it comes in here, this is that message board section where you can write directly to the developers of Robotify and give them feedback or get help or assistance, whatever you need. So it's and the idea as well is there's this is a place where teachers would help each other out as well with suggestions or ideas of what they're doing in the classroom, and maybe collaborate on creating projects. So that's a basic run through. This is obviously the demonstration version of the Robotify. If you pay for a full license, you get a lot more tutorials included in there, and the full 100+ hours of resources. Now I just wanted to jump back. I'm aware of the time, and we'll keep it moving at this stage. I'll just jump back into where we were in the presentation, and any questions you have, I hope you're putting them on the chat function, and then we'll finish those up. I'll just present the last little bits, and we'll jump into the chat. Okay. Obviously, something like Robotify is the perfect solution with all the issues surrounding COVID-19, the isolation. This overcomes all those sort of concerns. Students at home can log in at any time and do their work, and they've got access to it, and you can see what they're doing, whether they're having trouble, and set work for them as well. So it really is a robotics system that works really well. So for schools that have already got physical robots and those sort of things, and want to enhance their program, Robotify could be an advantage in that case as well. And for students who have nothing at this stage or find the robotics, the hardware expensive, this is a good solution for them as well. Okay, so the advantages of it. It's, as I said, it's great for engaging students. It's really accessible. It's accessible anywhere just through a web browser, so any device, 24/7. The kids can get in and connect to their virtual robots. You can also, it's obviously very cost effective. It's device independent, so it doesn't matter what device you're using. It contains a very organized and structured tutorial system, and it can make robotics easily accessible and, importantly, affordable for all students. Okay, they can use it in school, they can use it at home. It's great. And it can also, yeah, obviously as a teaching aid for where people are teaching with physical robots and not all the kids can use them at the one time. This is another way to tackle that problem. And there's no more broken parts or needing to charge things, that sort of thing. Okay, so this is just a quick overview. It covers some of the same things that I've just mentioned before, and so that, you know, those things are there. So a few testimonials of you know, other teachers' experiences. These are US based. This is just sort of coming to Australia at this stage. So we've got Kathleen Dasho, states Robotify allows students to learn STEM skills in fun and interactive 3D environments. Additionally, Robotify teaches real-world programming skills along with on-screen feedback that engages students. So Robotify opens up a world of possibilities, from navigating through the Amazon rainforest to exploring the craters of Mars. Students can experience coding like never before. Okay, so that's from David Lockett. And we've got another one there. Robotify has revolutionized the way we teach coding and robotics to our students. It's a one-stop shop for amazing educational content in robotics and programming, and our students absolutely love it. Okay. Now, before we jump to the Q&A, there is another thing coming. This is part of it. This is going to be a part of the Robotify ecosystem, if you like, and it's a really exciting development that's coming. It's the virtual robotics competitions. So, you know, there are other competitions out there like RoboCup Junior and FLL, and you know, they're you know, they sometimes have a little bit of trouble, particularly the FLL ones, which are the international ones, where the competition happens in the Northern Hemisphere, so it's set up for their schooling year, and we're on a slightly different agenda or time frame. And so with these virtual competitions, the idea is they can be set up on a regional basis, a national basis, or an international basis. And all those sort of impediments to participating in competitions, such as the cost of traveling or even the ability to travel, and the cost of hotels or COVID-related issues, are just completely debunked or defunct. So what they're trying to create here with these competitions, there can be up to 30 students can all be competing in the same interactive coding environment. So in the one environment, what you saw was me moving around before, or with the little hamster moving around. You can also have it where they go into like up to 30 people all interacting and competing, if you like, in those competitions. So that's something that they're really excited about, and so are we at MTA. So it will be a premium product add-on, but it's something that's coming, and it'll form part of the Robotify ecosystem. So just before we jump to the Q&A session, I do want to jump in and show you the very specifically, hopefully we can get it going. It's the Great Barrier Reef example. This is the one they've specifically made. You can see the Australian flags there for us. So if I jump in, it will hopefully pop up. This was just released last night specifically for this webinar. So hopefully it pops up and populates correctly. And it was having a little bit of trouble before, and I may not be able to show it to you, unfortunately. It's looking like it's not going to populate. I'll just see if I can access it via a different means. Yeah, it might be the case that I'm not able to present it for you, but it's essentially, it's an underwater environment. Pages, and I'll give it one more try, and if it doesn't work, then yeah. So it's just something which has been developed specifically for Australia. So it's a really good thing that Robotify have done. It shows their commitment, if you like, to developing the product in Australia and customising it. But at this stage, as I said, it was only released last night, specifically some sample code for us to use. But unfortunately, it's not working at the moment. But you can see the other, yeah. Okay, we'll have to go back, and I can show you very quickly. My apologies for that, but it was worth trying to set it up and giving you an example. But I'll show you very quickly one of the other ones, like the drone park or something. So if we jump in here, so it's all part of testing things that are in beta, as you can imagine. So we'll jump in here, and when this populates, okay. So this is a different environment. I was showing you before the room where the little ball was rolling around, and we can control that. And here's the first tutorial or the third tutorial. I'll jump back to the first one, and here, and it's giving me welcome to the Student Drone Racer League. As a junior racer, you're going to learn how to program and control drones. So it's saying the first one is in the movement drawer. Find the takeoff drone. Okay, to a set meter. Okay, takeoff drone to. Okay, so you come in here, you grab that block. Okay, then you can go to this particular, and it's asking me, and I've got to give it a height that I want it to take off to. So you can come in there, change that to 5. Okay. Out of the math drawer, so you can see it's going to take off. Now look in the movement drawer, find the land drone. So this is just the first thing you do with drones, is get them to take off and land. So I think that's tucked in behind there. Yep, land drone. And spot it to the bottom of the takeoff block. Again, we've got these cues if we're not sure. Okay. And this time it wants to do a takeoff drone to 5 feet. Where are we? Takeoff drone. Okay. So we've got measurement there in imperial and measurement in metric as well. I'll just drag that down, pop the 5 in there as well. Now you can see if I run this as well, just to show you this sort of error checking that's involved. If I run this, you can see it takes off, lands, takes off again, and it'll come back. That's not quite right, try again. So it's giving me that feedback that something is wrong in the code that I used. So I have to go back, read the instructions, and it's telling me that second one should have been in 5 feet. So, okay. So this time when you run it, takes off, lands, and you can see it highlighting which block is actually moving as well. And there you go, you get to move on to the next one. Okay. And the tutorials obviously move away from that sort of didactic teaching as they get more advanced. All right, so at that stage, that pretty much finishes what I wanted to show you. So we might pop up to questions now and see, we might have, Tennille, are you able to unmute yourself?
Hi, James.
Hi, Tennille. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Unmute, pop your video on, say hello to everyone. So,
hi everybody.
Okay. Now I'll just make it so other people can unmute themselves. Were there any questions that needed to be addressed?
James, just the last couple. I'll just go back to Lisa was asking, can the code be downloaded into real robots, for example, EV3s? Okay,
it's not set up to be downloaded into EV3. If you're looking for that, you've basically got the the Lego software is free and available for that. Or if you're looking for the Scratch-based program, you can use the latest version of Scratch can also program those. Yeah.
Lisa also wanted to know, can you change the units of measurement being used within the coding?
Was that from, if what she means is changing it from feet to meters and that sort of thing, we did that at the end. So yes, I think is the answer. But anyone can now, I've switched off so not everyone is muted, but you can unmute yourself and ask questions if you'd like. So if anyone would like to ask questions, please unmute, or if you're a bit shy, you can type them in and Tennille or I will see them as well. So were there any other questions? Or what other questions were asked during it that might be helpful for everyone who wasn't looking at the chat function? Were there any others?
I think we got to everything, James. There was a question about using Robotify for teaching performing arts or music, which I wasn't 100% sure about in terms of its capabilities. I'm not sure. I suppose it'd be worth having a look at the trial and just seeing whether it can be used in those. I'm not sort of an expert in those subject areas, but it might be worth just having a look. You can download the trial. It's free. Just have a look, around, see whether it's of use to you. Otherwise, there might be another, another robotics platform or something that they could use for that purpose. So any other? Okay, we've got something from Dr. Taba, which, sorry if I pronounce names wrong or anything. May not have time to ask email about licensing. Would you please write here the rough price I can discuss? Okay, for any issues about pricing, just just send an email on to onlinelearning@teaching.com.au. It's there's a few other charges, but I think it's roughly about $20 per head or something, and then goes down from there. So but that's sort of a rough idea. But for a proper idea on licensing, send an email on to Online Learning. So there's a site license and a subscription per user as well. Okay, we'll contact the team. Okay, if there aren't any other questions and no one pops on, I'll give you another 20 or 30 seconds to pop your answer in or unmute yourself. But if there aren't any other questions, or Tennille, is there anything you? I have a question about curriculum alignment to New Zealand curriculum, or whether that will be upcoming or in any other languages.
It is my understanding that they will be linking it to New Zealand curriculum. And what was the other one? 2 other languages.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that one. So I'm whether it'll be done in other languages or not. I'm sure they would be looking at that, but I can't give you 100%. At this stage, I think it's only in English, and that's the focus as they sort of develop it.
James, Tara is asking if there is a answer booklet or guide if students get stuck on a module and neither the teacher or the student can work out how to progress to the next step. As part of the lesson plans, is that available? A guide?
That was in the tutorials, in those lessons in the student analytics. At the top there, you could click on them and see how many attempts a student had made on one side, but the actual answer to the puzzle was on the other side. I can quickly show that again.
Yes, would you be able to show that again, just for those that might have missed that?
So if I jump in here, go back to so this is a really powerful section, this My Classes. So as a teacher, you can spend a lot of time in there. So we'll jump into student analytics. So in here is also where the teaching guides are. So it'll populate. I'll jump to one of the units where the kids have actually done some work in this. So the actual names of the students have been obviously stripped out for privacy reasons. But so if you come into here, you can click on this. This is where the student, you can see that the student here had 3 attempts, okay, at getting the answer right, and this is what they finally ended up with, and here's the recommended solution. So if we jump to an example where the student hasn't had success, okay, you can see here they've had 1 attempt, it hasn't recorded their answer, but the recommended solution is here. So for teachers who aren't quite sure themselves, it's not expected that you're going to be an expert, that you've studied computers or robotic science, anything like that. All the materials you need are here. So there's the recommended solution. If if the students can't work it out why it's going wrong, that sort of thing, they can come back to that section. And then for the teaching resources, if you click up here in this section, you can click up, and there's that that PDF document that you can download with the lesson plans in it. So, is that, Tennille, does that sort of answer the questions?
Lisa, feel free to unmute yourself and let us know if that's covered everything you wanted to know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I just had one last question about, as a teacher, can I run that trial for me to actually get my head around how it works before I trial it with the students?
Yeah, certainly you can go in and you can absolutely go through. I was demonstrating here, when I go to the courses section, that's where I can try it out. The students will use their own login and they'll go in and they obviously won't have the classes section, but they can go through the courses, but you can also go through and test the courses using that login.
So do I have to include myself as a student as my test?
No,
okay.
Your login will allow you to will allow you access to all the tutorials.
Great, fantastic. Thank you. This is great.
Lisa. Okay.
James, can you give us an indication of other sorts of projects that can be set for students? We can see there in the trial there is the drawing robot project. Have you got some indication of what the projects are outside?
I haven't had a full play around with that. I just haven't had time, but I'm pretty sure you can go in and just set tasks for students to achieve. There was that little one with the mouse that was moving around. You can, I'm pretty sure you can get that to, they have to achieve certain goals like draw a square or whatever, whatever task is you require of them. But there's that ability. I guess that's one of the areas that will continue to be developed by Robotify, and expanding out the possibilities and what materials can be added in there, I guess.
James, I've had a question about showing a student login. I'm not sure if you have a student login available, but am I right in saying that the students logging in looks very, very similar to this screen?
Student login is
without the analytics?
Exactly the same, except without the My Classes. And so, and probably I'm not sure whether the community's on there, but yeah, if I tried to log in, I'll probably spend 10 minutes, but basically the students come in and this is their sort of main page that they're navigating through, this stuff where the courses are and the projects, that sort of thing. So,
that's all the questions that we've got in the chat. I think we've answered everything that was in there.
All right. If anyone else wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, otherwise we'll give it about another 10 or 20 seconds.
I have a quick question here. Just wondering if you can show us where and how do you sort of assign tasks to students or classes? Are you able to point us out where the task management side of things very quickly?
The assigning task is something that's being developed, but at the moment you can quickly accelerate them through. So you can, if you go into the My Classes section, so if I go into sample student analytics, so, and once that populates, so let's say I know Robotify student number 2, and I know that they're really good, and they're, I've had a look through these units, and I know that they won't need to do the first 7 parts of this particular training module. I can come in here, I click on the student name, and I can set which challenge, where they will start that, that particular challenge. So I think, what was it again? I'll just move that. So it's training. So you come in here, choose a student, training, and I think if I want them to start here, I can then hit update. And when it updates, it will move through and look as though they've already completed those tasks. So this is where that student would then start when they log into their profile. So it's something that they're working on, where you can assign specific units on a particular night, but that's, you know, that's where it's at the moment, is my understanding, but it's something they're developing.
Great. Is there a quick way to sort of assign the same starting point or same modules for the entire class?
That I can't, no, I'm not sure. Yeah, that I'm not sure of. But, you know, that's part of the suggestion. They're really receptive to feedback. That's part of the suggestion that, you know, what that community is all about, where you put those suggestions forward and they'll adopt them. You know, there's already stuff where I've given them some feedback and it's been really well received. So they're really responsive in that regard, where you should be able to highlight something like what you're asking. You should be able to assign to an entire class a particular challenge, that sort of thing. So that's probably something in the works, but you jump on, you know, on the trial, you can influence how it's developed. It's really good in that respect. Any other questions?
I'm caught up in the chat.
Oh, you are? Okay. Oh, we are caught up.
Yeah.
Good.
Just another question just popped in, actually.
Yeah, they're having trouble.
Usernames. Can you see that one?
Try straight after. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's a refresh issue. So it's someone where they've gone through and loaded some students in. You've just got to make sure that the class is there. You've then got to make sure that you're logging in using the same login. It'll often drag you into the teacher profile by default. You may want to go in. One of the things I had to do was go in incognito, so it doesn't recognize you and use cookies to automatically load you into your own teacher profile. So that might be part of the solution. I'm not sure. So that might help you. All right. Any other questions? In a moment, we'll, yeah, if there aren't any more, we might finish it up. So, yeah, firstly, thank you to everyone for logging in and taking the time and spending the time with us to have a look at Robotify. As I said, for the if you're looking for information about, further information about it, you can email onlinelearning@teaching.com.au, and yeah, they'll be able to give you assistance regarding getting you a trial login and any, you know, an idea of licensing fees particular to your school. There's obviously discounts depending on how many students you've got. You know, the larger the number of students, the cheaper it gets, obviously. So other than that, I think, yeah, we've pretty much covered everything that needs to be done. So, okay. Thank you everyone for your time. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Okay. See you next time. Bye.